Hello everybody, welcome to Know Your Money. I'm Bronwyn Wayner.
And I'm Craig Finch, and we are from Growth Financial Planning. We hope you enjoy our podcast.
Hi viewers, so Jakes has been with us and talking about wills, and today he wants to actually talk about his own experience of what has happened, and he is an attorney.
A candidate attorney.
A candidate
almost
attorney.
Admitted.
So he wants to just explain exactly what has happened with him, just to highlight the importance of having a will. So thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Bronwyn and Warren. So the importance of having a will, you can just take my case as an example, because my dad passed away in 2019 and we're now in 2025, and his estate is far from being wound up, because when he passed on, we had to, because all of these documents weren't in place. I had to go and scramble and find documents that's important to just report to the estate and all the assets that he had available, which we had, most of that we were unaware of. We established that a bank has been appointed as the executors, and the will has not been amended since 1990.
Sure.
And that was 2019. And 1990, that's like almost 30 years that hasn't been updated. So that just indicates how important it is to have your will amended regularly as life happens. In the meantime, when that will was drafted, my parents then got a divorce. He remarried, he got a divorce again, so he died without any spouses. But since the will mentioned he had 3 children and his wife at the time, which is my mother, she is the residuary heir, and we are legatees, and the legatees are just, you make available a certain amount of money and you say this is what they will get. Now, the problems that come from that is, like I said, my dad got a divorce, my mom in the meantime got remarried, and the law states that if you don't change your will within 3 months after remarriage, then your former spouse still gets what's in your will.
So am I hearing you state that your dad remarried someone else, but because he didn't update the will, your mom still inherits everything, and his wife after that doesn't get it?
If he had a wife that was still alive and they were still married, but they got divorced as well, but let's just hypothetically say they were still married, then the new wife would have gotten nothing.
Legally speaking, that's it.
Legally speaking, would have got nothing.
Because the will said everything goes to your mum.
Even if the new wife was married in a community of property, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. She would have got her half share of the estate, but anything that forms part of his estate
goes straight
to the first spouse.
And then did your dad have any other children after?
No, it was just the 3 of us.
So the will that was done had your mom and you and your 2 siblings on?
Yes.
Is that what the will
That's what the will said. So it just mentioned the children, so that could have been any children at the time of making of the will and the spouse at the time. And the wills, and they were married in, they had a joint will as well, and there was estate massing, which is complicated, and it's mentioned that the property then gets, the property that he had then gets given to my mom, because she's the, don't get the word, the fiduciary, not the fiduciary, she's the usufruct holder. The usufruct holder means you make available a property. That's quite important when you deal with wills and with estate planning, because that prevents someone from let's say you get remarried, from someone, from your next partner to then take that asset. But yes, she was the usufruct holder, which means she can use the property until she passes on.
And then who was the property actually left to?
To the children.
So basically a usufruct is his mum is allowed to stay in that house, but the house wasn't left to her. It was left to the kids. And then because it wasn't left to her, that whole estate duty thing will come into play, because now the kids may have to pay estate duty, but then there are calculations for
The
use of it.
3.5 million.
Can I just go back? So how was it that you found out a bank was the executor?
So
And why go find the will and not just say he died?
because you need to
Without a will.
needs to have made some sort of effort. So at first I asked the bank, do you have his will? Because I didn't know. I could see he was banking with this certain bank. Maybe they have a will. They came back to me. They said they don't have a will. They've got nothing. So I went to another financial service provider, which he had some policies and they said no, they don't have.
Does the executor have to have a copy of the will to be the executor?
No, the master's officers keeps the original.
What I mean is, if I'm, for example, an executor of a family member's will, just as an example, should I have a copy of that will?
You get a copy. So in my case, the bank eventually came forward and they said, "Oh, we do have a will." So that's after me having to run around.
How long
So I
did that
think what
take?
Warren's asking is it the executor's responsibility to keep that will for
No,
the
because
clients?
you perhaps don't know who's going to be appointed as the executor. So in this case, the will was almost 30 years old. So it was only a bank was nominated.
Okay, but
And
back to what you were saying there for a second, right? So you said eventually the bank did find the will.
eventually they did. In the meantime, we had
How long
to
did that take between?
about 2 weeks or longer. Well,
Okay.
maybe no. Yes, they found the will within two weeks, I think.
Okay.
In that time, I had to bury my father. There were money available because he said before he died that needs to be paid over. So this was paid over, and it was sitting in the cloud. I had to make payments for funerals, and they were just like not having it.
So there was no assistance from the bank.
No
whatsoever.
assistance. I even went.
So the bank account got frozen, basically, is what you're saying, and you couldn't use the money.
No, the bank account wasn't frozen yet, but the money, because they said there was just sorts of issues, and the money was just hanging in the cloud. And I said, well,
But they
I need
wouldn't
to-
allow you to withdraw money from that account.
That was before he passed.
Right. Okay.
But then that happened on around the same time when he was on his last breath, and he said that money must be paid, and it was paid, and it was just in the cloud, and it's been a week, and we need to make payments for funerals, and the bank is just
So your father actioned the payment before he passed away,
Yes,
and it was never
that same day.
and it was never received by you.
it was never received, and then we had to make payments, and I went to the bank.
How is that? How's that okay?
It wasn't okay because I had to postpone the burial by a few days in order for us, because now the children had to come with, and he had a funeral policy, but there was some money that they said we must pay, and it was recovered afterwards. But at that time we needed the money, and we were like, okay, well let's pay this.
That blows my. He actioned the payment to pay for all this, and it was withheld effectively.
Yes, it was paid to another account, which is same names, but it was my account. And they were looking, is that fraud or what? But he's been making payments to that account to me
That is unbelievable.
for years, and we couldn't make that. But on the point of the bank, they appoint themselves as the executors as per the will, and for people that don't understand, because they always say it's a free will. So you think, okay, it's free will, everything will be sorted. The bank came after and they said, it looks like there's not enough money in the account. We want 3.5% even before we started. So they looked at the assets that's available. After I've been able to have a discussion with them to understand even what is it that you guys need. Because now they send me the will. Like I said, it's taken about 2 weeks. It's taken me up until 2 months after, because he passed in August, taken me up until October, I think, just to be able to speak to someone. I had to go into the offices, the branches, Several of my family members had to go so we can understand how do we need to report this. In the meantime, we've reported the estate to the master's officers.
So you did that yourselves instead of them?
We did that ourselves. Then the bank called me one day and they said, listen, we want to now just take an inventory of the assets so that we can start. So they sent me a whole list of documents to say this is what they need. I've told them what the assets are. Then after that, they decide, okay, this is the preliminary L&D account. We need 80,000 Rand from you guys.
Before they'll do anything?
Yes.
Is that normal? Will an executor usually take the 3.5% before anything is done?
The 3.5% from us, from how we are dealing with matters, is always done after, or if there's money available. So whatever comes first.
But they want it up front.
They wanted it up front. So they wanted they wanted me to pay 10,000 Rand before they started touching the account or the estate. So I had to come up with the 10,000 Rand, which I didn't have at the time, but I had to make a plan. So I got the 10,000 Rand. They sent me documents to say that we require you to pay the rest of the money, which is then 70,000 Rand. So you need to, between your siblings, decide how are you going to pay this. So and only one person gets to sign the document. So you bind yourself to, I'm going to pay the rest of the 70,000.
So you are liable for that money?
You are liable.
Legally.
And if you don't pay, well, they give you a list and you can decide how you're going to sell your property. If you're going to sell your property through auction, you can just know the bank will probably oversee that.
They'll take a lowball offer just to get the money in, won't they?
They will probably do that.
Yeah.
So eventually we just have been, giving them the ups and downs, and they could see that this is going to be a very difficult estate to handle. And
Then they sounded over to you, right?
then they resigned and they left us in limbo.
And now you're handling it.
I had to handle that, and it was during COVID. It's taken up to about, from 2021 or 2020, they resigned, 2 years for me to get letters of executorship. In that time, everything is mounting.
So
Your liabilities are continuing to rise.
It's continuing to rise. And after I got the letters of executorship, because you can't do anything before that. You're not legally able to start the estate. So you're just paying and just trying to get everything sorted. So I got appointed as the executor, and I had a property, because this is the importance of having a will. And for your estate planning. My father, he met a woman, they weren't married. He bought the property with his pension money, but it was on both their names. So you can see the problem is that, like I said previously, my mom had a usufruct over, because there were two properties, but just before he passed on, he signed that over to her in terms of an agreement, in terms of the divorce, that she will get the property. So that property was out of the question. The other property that he purchased between him and another woman with his pension money was the issue, because now we can't have her as the usufruct over that property, because he owns only half share.
Sure.
Other half share belongs to the other woman.
Yeah.
So we can't sell the property because we need to get her permission.
Wow.
Now
This just highlights how
important
important it is to have a will.
And to this day, it's still going on, hey?
Yeah.
it's still going on. So
And
we
it's
managed to sell the property. She managed to sign the property over to the children, because that's what she said she was going to do, but you're still liable for 20% the nation's taxes.
Sure. Sorry, we're going to have to stop there because the guy that's coming needs to get on an airplane. So I don't mean to cut it short.
No, that's fine.
Absolutely astounding, right?
Yes, an eye-opening
in this podcast is our personal opinion. For more detailed information, please discuss your financial situation with a financial planner.